The Central Asian Report is a program about the ongoing geopolitical trends and the panorama of the present-day realities in Central Asia.
Politics, economics and culture, events, trends and people. All this on one territory. Hello, you're watching the Central Asian Report in today's program. How to tackle social orphanhood, Kazakhstan's experience. Prosthetic hands, innovations accessible to everyone. The Museum of Wax Figures, the very first in Kyrgyzstan. The opening of the international airport was held in Ashgabat. It should become a large transit junction for the continental and intercontinental air routes. The airport building, as well as the surrounding infrastructure, were built by a Turkish company. The project cost more than $2 billion. The airport complex includes 3 terminals: passenger, cargo, and VIP. The throughput capacity is 2,000 passengers per hour. The cargo terminal can process up to 200 tons of cargo per year. Its total area, more than 17,000 square meters. Kazakhstan is planning to launch the first pilotless aerial vehicles. This is a joint project of the country and Israel. It is expected that it will be realized in Astana at the Aviation Technical Center. This is where the assembly line will be established, and all the technologies, know-how and licenses will be transferred to Kazakhstan from Israel. At the initial stage, it is planned to assemble from 5 to 10 aerial vehicles per year. In the future, up to 20. In addition, an agreement has been reached on teaching Kazakhstan's military personnel at the base of Israel's Center for Preparing Operators of Pilotless Aerial Vehicles. In Uzbekistan, a mosque named after Islam Karimov will be built. One of the oldest mosques of Tashkent will be named in honor of the country's first president. It is around 300 years old. The total area, almost 5,500 square meters. It has the capacity to have 560 people praying at the same time. 1.5 years ago, the mosque almost burned down to the ground in a fire. It was renovated using the funds of the president's daughter Lola and her husband Timur Tilayev. To remind, the president of Uzbekistan, Islam Karimov, passed away on September 2nd at the age of 78 as a result of a stroke. The Mother's House. This is the name that a wide-scale social project in Kazakhstan received. Within its framework, women who have found themselves in a difficult living situation are given comprehensive aid, from psychological consultations to provision of temporary housing. Our next story is about the scale of the project, its goals, mechanisms, and heroes. Malika is from Uzbekistan, but she's been living in Almaty for 10 years already. Together with her family, she moved to the big city and fell in love. After some time, it turned out that she got pregnant. The future father even seemed to be happy to hear the news. He proposed and went back to his hometown to prepare for the wedding. Malika has not even seen him since. I went to Astana to his home to look for him. I knew where he lived because I met his parents. At home, his parents met me, almost beat me up even though I was pregnant, and kicked me out of the house. Malika's own family also did not offer support or understanding. They declared that they disowned her after finding out that she decided to keep the baby. Without money and roof over her head, Malika was desperate. It is unknown what would have happened to her had it not been for the house of the mother. I found out about the mother's house on the internet. I also saw an advertisement on the street and then online. I saw that they're helping single mothers. I called them when I was pregnant, and they responded in a very welcoming manner and said that they would be happy to see me. And when I was in my 8th month of pregnancy, I came here. According to statistics, thousands of women find themselves in similar life situations, but only few get the courage to give birth to a child despite the anger and judgment of relatives. More often, social pressure is unbearable for young women. They decide to disown the child, and as a result, thousands of children end up as orphans despite the fact that their parents are still alive. And this is the best-case scenario. The slogan of the house, "Mother, do not leave me," sounds like a call for women who are facing a difficult choice. At the moment, 18 cities of Kazakhstan have 24 shelters for single mothers, and at the moment they're sheltering around 270 women with children.
Проект «Дом мамы» с 2013 года реализуется.
The project Mother's House is being realized since 2013. The result of this project is that already 1,780 people did not end up in children's institutions and remained with their families and mothers. Almaty has 4 shelters for the mothers.
Существует и функционирует 4 дома мамы.
The Mother's House mainly provides shelter to women at the age of 20. They live as a family and raise their children. Some are provided support in getting an education, others to get a job. When the child turns 1.5 years old, the young women are let out to start their adult life.
Приходят специалисты, которые их обучают, то есть если у девушки нет профессии, мы, как правило, обучаем шитью.
Specialists come to train them. If the young woman does not know any trade, as a rule we train them in sewing, using the computer, hairdressing, makeup artist, and etc. This is the training that they undergo. I know that in one of the houses in Almaty, volunteers come and teach English.
В Алмате, в одном из домов мамы, туда приходят волонтеры, и они их обучают английскому языку.
The Mother's House social project is a private initiative. It was started by one family. Then a community of entrepreneurs joined it. Today, Mother's House is financed by 18 philanthropists. The first shelter was opened in Astana. In the first year, it managed to save 46 children from becoming orphans.
В то время была такая ужасающая статистика отказов от новорожденных детей. Ежегодно.
At that time, there was horrendous statistics of abandonment of newborn children. Annually, 1,500 children end up in orphanages. And when the business community realized about the 10-year perspective of those horrible statistics, the huge number of children would become social orphans while their parents are still alive. That is when the idea for this project was born.
Огромное количество граждан становятся социальными сиротами при живых родителях. И тогда был задуман этот проект.
Karalagash came to the Mother's House in Almaty to get not just psychological but also legal support. She is a survivor of sexual abuse. To this day, she's trying to forget that horrible day and try to move on. Psychologists and the project coordinator are helping the young woman with this. There is now an investigation. The men have not yet been caught. There is the woman Aminat in this Mother's House. She's supporting me. At the moment, I'm trying to forget everything because soon I will become a mother. I'm trying not to think about that day, trying to forget. The project coordinators say that Karalagash is still in a depressive state, but her faith in people and hope for the better are slowly returning to her. Just like all those who went through Mother's House, she's already starting to understand that everything that happened is not the end. This is the beginning of a new stage, not an easy one, but still potentially happy and joyous, because the appearance of a child usually could only be that. Prosthetics on the verge of science fiction. A unique prosthetics manufacturing enterprise has been established in Kazakhstan. They are modeled in 3D, and instead of standardized production using industrial machines, they are printed on a 3D printer. Technology which surprises some and saves others. Details in our next story. Ayman is one of the first people in Kazakhstan who had her prosthetic hand printed on a 3D printer. The young woman was born without a right hand, and this is her first functional prosthetic hand. Before, she had only a cosmetic one, which she hid under her sleeve. There are rubber bands in here, and thanks to them I can already grab things. So when I move the active part of the hand down, it squeezes, and when I release, it releases. The prosthetic hand for Ayman was not made in a hospital and not in a prosthetics shop, but in a small 3D studio in Almaty. The technology is simple, just like every genius idea. The bobbin with the plastic thread is put into the printer, and then layer by layer it creates the object. Before, this company made architectural maquettes and souvenirs. When the owners of the studio found the designs for the prosthetics on the internet, they decided to try to make them. There is an American laboratory which makes prosthetics, and they put online all their designs and models in an open source. They have a lot of different models, like models for prosthetics of hands, upper limbs, and lower limbs.
Моделей протезов рук, верхних конечностей, также нижних конечностей.
Ayman tried on her artificial limb a couple of times before it fit perfectly. The design is adapted to each client so that the prosthetics fits perfectly. A 3D printed limb costs 80,000 tenge, and this is a good alternative to expensive prosthetics that are out on the market.
В положении «включить» находится, где пульс у человека.
The turn-on signal is located where a person's pulse is. The accumulator is connected, and the signal comes from the muscles, and the hand opens from another muscle, and it closes.
Кисть открывается. Другую мышцу, пару мышц, она закрывается.
The technology engineer Yerzhan Asilov is demonstrating all the capabilities of the prosthetics made abroad. It costs around 2 million tenge. For people who became disabled in just a blink of an eye, the sum is huge, just as it is for the parents whose children need to change prosthetics as they grow. Imagine a situation in which a child ends up without fingers. They stand out. Kids start making fun of them because they can be cruel. Everyone knows this. And now imagine if they can take this hand and put it on. They will consider themselves to be a superhero. The company where Ivan Kaziev works also prints prosthetic hands using a 3D printer. The manager admits that just like their competitors, they found out about the idea online. But then a team of mathematicians, engineers, and designers polished it. As a result, it was possible to perfect the visual appearance of the model.
Ребята загорелись идеей.
The young people got the spark for the idea, and they understood that it would be quite easy and fast to realize it. They decided to try to do the same, but of higher quality. A model that looks more like a human hand, even though a similar mechanism was used.
Более похоже на человеческую руку, хотя тот же самый механизм был использован.
Producers say the 3D printed prosthetics can serve up to 10 years, but this has not yet been proven in practice. The technology is too young. One thing is undoubtable: it is more accessible and substantially improves the quality of life of patients.
Стоят как живые.
Almost as if alive. The very first museum of wax figures was opened in Kyrgyzstan, and even though the exposition is not that expensive, for the country this is a precedent. Our correspondent in Bishkek visited the exhibition and is now ready to share with us the curious details which are usually hidden from the eyes of the regular visitors. To fix the haircut of Michael Jackson, check the neatness of the costumes of Vladimir Putin and Gerard Depardieu. This is how every workday of Azar Kanatbekova begins. She works in the Bishkek Museum of Wax Figures. This is the first museum of this kind that was opened in Kyrgyzstan. My father is the organizer and initiator of establishing this museum. At some point he studied in Moscow, and that is where he visited a museum with his friends and saw the Peter I and Catherine II. And since then he has been harboring the idea to come to Kyrgyzstan and open his own museum. Kyrgyzstan does not yet have masters who would be able to make such unusual figures. That is why all of them were delivered from the Moscow region. It took 3 years to make the entire collection. Each wax figure weighs around 30 kilograms, and their costs reach $2,000 US. Wax is not a cheap material, but because the majority of people do not know this, they are surprised why the entrance fee is so high. For an adult, the entrance is 200 soms, but you cannot prove to everyone that wax is not just a toy. The most odious heroes of the modern times were chosen for the exhibition: politicians, athletes, show business stars. What's more, the wax figures reflect the true lifestyle of their prototypes. That is why the martial artist Jean-Claude Van Damme is molded in a gymnastics pose, and Gerard Depardieu with a Russian passport and the famous Russian drink in his hand. They do not require special care. It is important that it is not too hot or too cold inside, because the wax melts. But some people are usually tempted to touch the figures, which cause some of the paint to come off, and that is why it is necessary to reapply the paint. In order to make the figures look realistic, wigs were made out of natural hair, and also a rare type of glass was used for making the eyes. This way, the figure's gaze ends up looking real and expressive. In a photo, a wax figure can be easily confused for a real person. When I showed my friends the photos, they asked, "Where was this taken? Was it in Kyrgyzstan?" I told them yes, in Kyrgyzstan, in the main shopping mall. And because I myself work nearby, I advised my friends to go and visit the museum. During the first couple of days of the museum's operations, more than 500 residents of Bishkek visited it. For now, it has 17 wax figures, but in the future it is planned to expand the exposition to 50 figures. The wishes and interests of the visitors will be taken into account, and organizers do not exclude the possibility that the exposition will include prominent figures of Kyrgyzstan, including historical figures.
На этом все.
You're watching the Central Asian Report. Until next time on Kazakh TV.
Kazakh TV.